Right on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody hit the floor. You better get ready to hit the floor. There's stuff going on. I haven't exactly gotten to the bottom of it yet. I have suspicions, but we have to investigate. When do coincidences stop being coincidences? You know, when I've never been a conspiracy theory type of guy, although some have been very interesting. But there are things that have happened the last little bit that when you start connecting the dots are very scary. And I think we have to investigate. So today, ladies and gentlemen, is October 26th. I've had stuff come across my desk, like I said, that I've thought are way too coincidental. You know, there's just too many things going on out there that just don't seem to add up. You know, 1 and 1 is supposed to equal 2. But when somebody else is trying to tell you it's 3 and you know it's 2, then don't wait around to be a monkey's uncle. Let's take a look at what's going on. And I'll tell you, the one place I got to start, what started all of this was really October 16th. Although, you know, we're in weird times. 2020, let's face it, has been a weird year. All right. We've got, like, as everybody says, a new type of normal. But are we going to allow this to change the fabric of our society? And I'm afraid that's what's going on. I believe there's things at work here which are trying to undermine the way we live, the fabric, period. And we have to come together. I'm hoping that by doing what I'm doing here today, I can assemble a group where we can start some communication. We can begin sharing some ideas, and more importantly, sharing things we come across. Even if you think they're nothing, you'd be surprised how together we might be able to expose or get to the bottom of what's really going on. Okay. Anyways, let's start with where I started. Although, you know, I found things a little funny the last year or so. Well, the last couple of years, you know, you keep hearing things, seeing things coming across my desk, and by themselves, it didn't mean a thing to me. But now when I look back and I start piecing some of these things together, I'm starting to see a picture being created, which I'm not that comfortable with. And you know what? I hope I'm wrong, and I may be wrong. And together we'll wade through those waters and see what's going on, right? So again, let's hope for the best. You know, my wife says, trust but verify. I'm trusting. I'm hoping that everything's going to be all right, but I'm going to verify things. I don't want to be anybody's monkey's uncle. You know, I don't want to be looking back a year, 2 years, 10 years from now and saying, you know what? I had the feeling, I had the gut instinct. I knew things weren't adding up, but I did nothing about it. So let's hope that together we can do something about this. All right. Even if it's nothing, even though this ends up being nothing, I think you're smart to be prepared, you know, hope for the best, but expect the worst. In any case, I received a text message from a good friend back in October the 16th, 2020. And apparently this was a leaked email from the Liberal Party of Canada that happened at some type of a meeting for the Liberal Party or certain committees of the Liberal Party. And I can't speak to the veracity or the truthfulness of this email. But like I said, when held with other pieces of evidence, when does a coincidence stop being a coincidence? When do things, when do you stop trying to make 1 and 1 add up to 2? You know, you have to investigate these things. So let's start by reading this email, and I'll bring in some other pieces of the puzzle that I've come across in the meantime, which kind of scared the bejesus out of me, truth be told. All right. So I received this on October the 16th, 2020. Today's October the 26th, about 10 days ago. And apparently this email was penned on Saturday, October the 10th, 2020, and sent to somebody. It says it comes from the Liberal Party of Canada Strategic Committee. So somebody there supposedly leaked this email. Like I said, I don't know if there's any truth to it, but if there is, we better try and figure it out. So it says, "Dear," and the name's been removed. "I want to provide you some very important information. I'm a committee member within the Liberal Party of Canada. I sit within several committee groups, but the information I am providing is originating from the Strategic Planning Committee, which is steered by the PMO. PMO, in case you don't know, stands for Prime Minister's Office. I need to start off by saying that I'm not happy doing this, but I have to. As a Canadian, and more importantly, as a parent who wants a better future, not only for my children, but for other children as well. The other reason I am doing this is because roughly 30% of the committee members are not pleased with the direction this will take Canada. But our opinions have been ignored, and they, I don't know who they are, but I suppose powers to be, plan on moving forward toward their goals. They have also made it very clear that nothing will stop the planned outcomes. The roadmap and aim was set out by the PMO and is as follows. Phase in secondary lockdown restrictions on a rolling basis. Starting with major metropolitan areas first and expanding outward. Expected by November 2020. Now, if any of you have been paying attention, following the news, you should recognize that this has already started to happen. Toronto is well into its second lockdown, or certain degrees of a second lockdown. I was in Toronto just a week ago, downtown Toronto, and I'm telling you, the underground was dead. You know, albeit for some restaurants in the food court areas, in the downtown underground, in the path, as it's referred to, some clothing stores, a couple of Shoppers Drug Marts, and a couple of barber shops. Everything was closed. Downtown Toronto was a ghost town. I understand Montreal and places in British Columbia are well into their second lockdowns as well. Now, I can't verify those because I haven't been there, but just from what I'm hearing, what I've been told from friends and what I'm seeing on the news, we're well on our way. So back to this email, apparently, from the committee, Strategic Planning Committee, the leaker, the Strategic Planning Committee. Rush the acquisition of or construction of isolation facilities across every province and territory. This is expected by December 2020. Now, this should be very troubling and of concern to everyone. Now, on its own, if I would have just seen this email or leaked email, apparently leaked email, and read that, I would have thought, yeah, okay, another tin hat conspiracy theory, right on. But then I happened to come across this. Here we have, right on the Government of Canada website, where you can tender for different projects, a memo or a tender for service providers for federal quarantine isolation sites. Now, albeit this was published September the 17th, 2020, and it closed October the 19th, 2020. The email, the leaked email that I'm reading from right now was sent, apparently penned October the 10th. So one could say, well, yeah, somebody saw that memo or that tender request from the federal government and put this in the leaked memo to start a big conspiracy. Yeah, I guess that's possible. But, you know, when you hold that with everything else that's going on, you have to ask the question, true or false? So, and you can see, according to this tender request, the regions of delivery are Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, the National Capital Region, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, the Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, Nunavut, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, Saskatchewan, and Yukon. Well, I'd say that pretty well summarizes all of the territories and provinces of Canada. Now, in the description of this tender request from the Government of Canada, you can see here, and you can read it on your own, you can look it up on your own. It's nothing that I've created. It's something which you should look up. And I encourage you, don't believe me, don't believe anybody else that's telling you anything. Do what I do and do your own research. Look at the resources that you're being pushed towards and verify, all right? The Government of Canada is considering engaging a third-party service provider for federal quarantine/isolation sites that will be used to house and care for people for public health and other federal related requirements associated with the COVID-19 pandemic response. Now, seriously, think about that. What does that really mean? Like, we're not going to get into this today, but just a little bit of food for thought there. Does that mean if they come up with a vaccine and you refuse to take the vaccine, you're going to be put into an isolation camp? I don't know. But you should be concerned about stuff like that. The government is seeking feedback. The memo goes on to say, or the tender request goes on to say, the government is seeking feedback from current service providers about potential options for standing up, operating, and managing all of the services associated with these sites. All right. So here it is, right on the government website. You can look it up on your own. So let's go back to here. And let's go back to this leaked email that I requested. Daily new cases of COVID-19 will surge beyond capacity of testing, including increases in COVID-related deaths following the same growth curves, expected by the end of November 2020. Now, I hope we don't start getting more COVID-related deaths, but we're already starting to see that the numbers of COVID-19 new cases is going up in many provinces. Now, is that due to more testing? I don't know. But the numbers are going up. Is this going to be a reason to implement these camps? Complete and total secondary lockdown much stricter than the first and second rolling phase restrictions, expected by the end of December 2020, early January 2021. So if any of this is true, that's what you have to look for in the coming months. Eventually, we're going to get to a total lockdown again, and potentially more severe this time. The leaked email goes on to say, reform and expansion of the unemployment program to be transitioned into the Universal Basic Income Program, expected by Q1 2021. Now, let's think about that. The government wants to put more people on the dole. They expect more of you. They want more of you to depend on them. Like a socialist economy, a socialist society. Anyways, projected COVID-19 mutation or co-infection with secondary virus, referred to as the COVID-21, leading to a third wave with much higher mortality rate and higher rate of infection. They're expecting this by February 2021, according to this leaked email. Now, I haven't seen much about this COVID-21, but I can tell you that I've come across it many times. People are already talking about this in the COVID world. So everybody's talking about some type of mutation, or many people, not everybody, but many people are starting to talk about some type of mutation that they're referring to as COVID-21, which is going to be worse. And obviously, if it's going to be worse, they want to push you, whoever they are, in a certain direction. So let's continue what else they're discussing here at this strategic planning committee. Enhanced lockdown restrictions, referred to as the third lockdown, will be implemented. Full travel restrictions will be imposed, including inter-province and intercity, expected Q2 2021. Now, can you imagine that? Listen to what they're telling you here, if there's any truth to any of this. Along with these lockdowns are going to come full travel restrictions. You won't be able to travel anywhere. They're even telling you provincially, you won't be able to go out of province. They're telling you, according to this, that you won't even be able to do intercity. There's going to be barriers set up. So if you live in Kitchener and you have family in Toronto, you're going to need some type of validation to get there. You won't be able to travel from city to city. Who knows? You may not even be able to travel within the same city. There may be certain restrictions set up. Now, I can't verify this personally, but I have a friend that works for a company in Quebec, and he's told me that already in the Montreal area, there have been certain areas set up where you cannot get in or out of without ID proving that you live there. So like I said, I don't know if that's true. If you're from Quebec, perhaps you can tell me about it or comment and let me know. I'll get more information on this for future podcasts. But it's already happening. And this was happening prior to this, me receiving this email, this leaked email. The next point that this person goes on to say in this email is they're transitioning of individuals into Universal Basic Income Program is expected by mid Q2 2021. There will be projected supply chain breakdowns, inventory shortages, large economic instability, and this is expected second quarter 2021. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. We already saw what happened the first time we had lockdowns and people weren't working. We already saw that there were shortages at the grocery store. There were lineups at grocery stores, toilet paper, for example, you know. So if there's going to be a more severe lockdown where people aren't going to work, well, you can rest assured that there's going to be shortages, and maybe even bigger and worse shortages than we experienced the last time. So err on the side of caution. You better prepare. Food, maybe water, toilet paper, who knows? Who knows what's coming if what we're being told here is real, even half real. It goes on to say, there will be a deployment of military personnel into major metropolitan areas, as well as all major roadways, to establish travel checkpoints, restrict travel and movement, and provide logistical support to the area, expected by Q3, third quarter 2021. Now, as I mentioned before, I haven't been there, I can't verify it, but my friends from the Montreal area told me that this has already happened. The military has already been stationed in certain places in the Montreal area to keep people from traveling from one part of the city to the other. On top of that, and again, I can't verify, but there has been video footage, and I don't know how true it is, so I'm not going to really spend much time or quote on it until I find out, that even in the Quebec, there have been United Nations personnel to help with this already, okay? Now, the email goes on to say, along with that provided roadmap, the Strategic Planning Committee was asked to design an effective way of transitioning Canadians to meet an unprecedented economic endeavor, one that would change the face of Canada and forever alter the lives of Canadians. What we were told was, in order to offset what was essentially an economic collapse on an international scale. Now, keep in mind, I'm just going off this email here a little bit. Although I'm referring specifically to Canada right now, apparently this is planned internationally. So we're not the only ones that are going to be privy to these camps, lockdowns, travel restrictions, all right? It's going to be on an international scale. So to get back to this email, what we were told was that in order to offset what was essentially an economic collapse on an international scale, that the federal government was going to offer Canadians a total debt relief. This is how it works. The federal government will offer to eliminate all personal debts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, etc., which all funding will be provided to Canada by the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, under what will become known as the World Debt Reset Program. Now, again, just to go off a little bit and some of my own personal experience, and maybe yours, if you've paid any attention to the last 10 years and what's going on in world politics, especially where it's got to do with the International Monetary Fund, where it's got to do with the United States in particular, how many times have you heard the terms New World Order or even this reset, monetary reset? If you look up on YouTube, anywhere you go for social media, look up monetary reset. This has been talked about for years. Now, is this a way of putting things into your mind, making you callous to it, so when it actually does happen, you're expecting it? Beware. Something is afoot. So let's continue with this email. In exchange for acceptance of this total debt forgiveness, the individual would forfeit ownership of any and all property and assets forever. The individual would also have to agree to partake in the COVID-19 and COVID-21 vaccination schedule, which would provide the individual with unrestricted travel and unrestricted living, even under a full lockdown, through the use of photo identification referred to as Canada's Health Pass. Now, there's a lot that was just said there, all right? So they can wipe out all your debt, whoever has debt, but they're gonna own your ass, all right? Everything that you have, every asset you have is gonna be theirs. They want you on this basic income program that we're talking about, like a socialist. They're gonna own you. You're gonna be their little slave, right? That's what's coming down the pipes, or that's what somebody's projecting is coming down the pipes. And although you may get a Canada Health Pass for now, we'll talk about this in future meetings, but I believe they've already got a vision of how they're going to monitor you. It's going to be more involved. It's scarier than just a card where you can travel, all right? We'll talk about that in the future, though. I want to keep these short so I don't bore too many people. And I want to do this in bites. I want to do this in small bites. So, you know, it's not too much to chew off in one bite. You know, I want to take you baby steps to the big picture, the way I'm seeing it, what I'm envisioning here, which is really, really scary. I think that if I try to do everything at once, well, first of all, it's going to take forever. It's going to take hours to discuss everything that I've been seeing come together the last couple of years. All right. But we're going to do this in miniature bites, and hopefully we'll walk down the same path together, and together we can come up with our own strategic plan. So back to this, let's finish this email here. All right, so they're going to come up with Canada's Health Paths. Committee members asked who would become the owner of the forfeited property and assets in that scenario, and what would happen to lenders or financial institutions. We're simply told the World Debt Reset Program will handle all of the details. Several committee members also questioned, and remember, look up World Debt Reset Program while you still have access to internet or free internet. And you can see that this isn't just something new. It's been something that's been discussed for a long time, all right? Several committee members also questioned what would happen to individuals if they refuse to participate in the World Debt Reset Program or the Health Pass or the vaccination schedule. And the answer we got was very troubling. Essentially, we were told it was our duty to make sure we came up with a plan that would ensure that would never happen. We were told it was in the individual's best interest to participate. When several committee members pushed relentlessly to get an answer, we were told that those who refused would first live under the lockdown restrictions indefinitely, and that over a short period of time, as more Canadians transitioned into the debt forgiveness program, the ones who refused to participate would be deemed a public safety risk and would be relocated into isolation facilities. Now, if you didn't hear that properly, I urge you to rewind a minute, 30 seconds into this podcast and replay it. Continuing with the memo here. Once in those facilities, they would be given two options: participate in the debt forgiveness program and be released, or stay indefinitely in the isolation facility under the classification of a serious public health risk and have all their assets seized anyways. So, as you can imagine, After hearing all of this, it turned into quite the heated discussion and escalated beyond anything I've ever witnessed before. In the end, it was implied by the PMO that the whole agenda will move forward no matter who agrees with it or not. That it won't just be Canada, but in fact, all nations will have similar roadmaps and agendas. That we need to take advantage of the situations before us to promote change on a grander scale for the betterment of everyone. The members who were opposed and ones who brought up key issues that would arise from such a thing were completely ignored. Our opinions and concerns were ignored. We were simply told to just do it. All I know is that I don't like it, and I think it's going to take Canadians into a dark future. Yeah, I would agree with that. And in case you don't think that people were being ignored, or you don't think that memo was real, I want to show you a small clip of what happened at the Ontario legislature recently. So I'm gonna show you this video here from the Ontario legislature now. Let me just let me get here and here. We'll blow this up for you. Let's just listen to this here.
Member for Lanark, Frontenac, Kingston.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. In my supplemental question yesterday, I asked this government if the people of Ontario should prepare for internment camps. In September, the federal government posted a call for expressions of interest for contractors to supply.
Now, just for your interest and for your reference, FYI, this was October the 8th, 2020. The member of parliament here is Randy Hillier. And he tried to ask why we were building camps and who they are meant for. And I want you to pay close attention to the response he got.
Provide and manage quarantine isolation camps throughout every province and every territory in Canada. These quarantine isolation camps, however, are not limited to people with COVID, but provide a wide latitude for many people to be detained. Surely this government is aware of the intentions to build these isolation camps from coast to coast. And my question to the Premier is, how many of these camps will be built? And how many people does this government expect to detain?
Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is very true that when people leave the country and when they come back in, that the province is suggesting, and the federal government, in cooperation with the federal government, we're suggesting that people isolate themselves. That has been a practice that has been very successful, not only here in the province of Ontario, but across Canada. And we will, of course, be redoubling our efforts to make sure that the people of the province of Ontario remain safe, Mr. Speaker. So if the member is referring to the fact that that one of the public health policies is that when you return from a jurisdiction outside of the province of Ontario or from another country, that you isolate yourself for 2 weeks, I would suggest that has been a good policy that's been working. In fact, this House has been doing the same thing since we came back. We are working in cohorts to make sure that the Legislative Assembly can continue to operate. That's why we have two separate cohorts, Mr. Speaker.
Response.
With the cooperation of the official opposition, that is why all members of the Independents have been excluded from that cohort, because we want them to be able to participate in debate. So we'll continue to do everything in our power to make sure that this House continues, but that the people of the province of Ontario and Canada are kept safe.
Supplementary question. Again, back to the Premier. Here's the RFP. And in the RFP, it uses clear language to express that these camps can be used for a broad spectrum of people, not limited to travelers. Indeed, it doesn't even mention international travelers. It's just a broad latitude of people. And I'll send over the copy of the RFP after. So your government must be in negotiations and aware of these plans to potentially detain and isolate citizens and residents of our country and our province. So, Speaker, to the Premier, where will these camps be built? How many people will be detained? And for what reasons? For what reasons can people be kept in these isolation camps? And I'd like to have the Premier assure the people of Ontario.
Member, take a seat. The next question.
OMG. Did you see that? When he tried to get details, he was ordered to sit down. No answers. Go back to the tender request from the federal government and read it through again. You can see Mr. Hillier was right. It's very broad in its definition. It's not just limited to travelers. All right. Okay, so this is going on a little bit longer than I wanted. I really don't want these casts to go on. I don't want to bore you guys, but I thought this first one was very important, so we get a good start here and we see what's going on. When you're looking at that a memo, a tender offer, I'll tell you, there was another tender offer, which is a little disturbing too, which people are talking about, and I don't know if it's got anything to do, but you know what, if something like this does happen, I can see a level of civil unrest. And I guess that's why the military or the armies or the UN would be called into action to assist with that, with these quarantine camps or isolation camps. And if you go, like I said, you go back, you can actually see that the day before, let's see if I can get it up here. Well, I can't get it up here right now, but there was another tender offer for 36,000 tear gas units were asked for by tender by the federal government just the day before the tender went out for those isolation camps. So it should be concerning and very troubling to everyone that, you know, I don't have to tell you, history tells us what happens in these type of camps and detention camps when they've been used in the past. But further, what should be very troubling to all of you and all of us is that the government, your elected officials refuse to answer any questions about who these camps are meant for. That to me is a very scary situation. So like I said, I think that's enough for today, but I think there's something that's afoot here. We have to get to the bottom of it as citizens, especially if we want our lives back. And I'll tell you, communication is going to be very key. You can see what's been happening with Twitter and Facebook, how they're censoring stuff. You can see we're living in an age of propaganda right here in the free world. These things are the news, and we've heard so much about fake news, but we can be cut out at any time. We're going to have to start communicating, and I think we're going to have to. This is something that's we're going to have to really think about hard. I think we're going to have to come together in pods. We're going to have ways to get messages to each other in case we're ever shut down from everybody. And I know conspiracy theories, all these futuristic movies that we've seen on TV, which make me think, are we being calloused up for what's coming? So, send me ideas. I want to hear from everybody. I want you to subscribe. I'll tell you, I'm not sure about YouTube. I am for sure going to be on Parler and Rumble. They've committed, or so they've said, that they're not going to censor or keep the news from spreading, like YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Google, some of these other things do. So for sure, I'm going to be on Rumble. I'm going to be on Parler as a ways to reach me. Send me whatever information you come across, however insignificant you think it is, because like I said, if we put our minds together, maybe we can stay ahead of this. And you know, I'm at a loss for words. I'm going to leave it at that for now. But like I said at the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, everybody hit the floor. I think it's time we start getting serious about this, because if we're being herded into this, if we're being herded, I don't like what I'm seeing or where we're heading. So I can be reached at Your Monkey's Uncle on You Monkey's Uncle on Parler, You Monkey's Uncle on Rumble, where this is going to be. I'm going to see about setting up an account on YouTube, but a lot of this stuff is being taken down as quick as it goes up, so we don't know how long it's going to be there. I've got at Your Monkey's Uncle without the E on Twitter right now. I don't know how long I'm going to be on there either. And if you want to reach out to me by email, you can do it at youmonkeysuncle@gmail.com. And for now, emails, we're still able to, I don't think emails are censored yet, and hopefully we can still communicate that way for a bit. But these are all things, food for thought, things we're all going to think about. And let's just leave it at that for today. I thank you for tuning in. I'm going to start by sending this out to a bunch of family and friends that I think would be interested. And please, 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 please share it with everybody. Get it out there. We got to start coming together in groups. We have to start coming together. Keep in mind, I really believe there's a lot more of us than there are of them that are trying to run this show or herd us into wherever situation they're trying to herd us into. I think I know what's going on, but at the end of the day, I might be one of those conspiracy, I end up looking like one of those conspiracy kooks. But right now, all I'm doing is trying to connect the dots. And where those dots are leading me, where that road is leading me, I'm not liking. And let's try and cut this off. If that's really what's going on, let's try and cut this off by coming together. Again, I thank you all, and I look forward to meeting you all and speaking to you all again soon. Thank you very much.